Hey everybody, David here, and today I want to talk about the X-Men because it is the subject that a lot of hardcore film fans are still talking about, how hard the film bombed this weekend. Unfortunately, they love talking about how much it bombed, but they're not going out and seeing how good or bad it is, and they'd rather just take a guess. Which I always think is the wrong approach. I always say if you want to be part of the discussion, it is always good to go and see the film for yourself and then decide if it's a good or bad film. If you want to wait a little bit, then sure. But if you want to have an opinion, the whole point of having discussions is to check these films out. Maybe not right away if you don't want to, but check it out eventually so that way we can have discussions about these films and why it was good or why it was bad, because when you don't see it, then you don't really have an opinion on why it's good or bad. You're just taking a wild guess or just saying what other people are saying when you don't really know if that's your opinion on it. So there you go on that. Let's talk about what is the future of the X-Men films, because I think that is the subject now we're all looking forward to. I think we've been looking forward to this even before Dark Phoenix came out, but yes, let's talk about the future of X-Men, because we know it's going to go into the MCU. We know that the only thing that's going to survive from this iteration of X-Men is going to be the Deadpool franchise. Ryan Reynolds already confirmed when Disney officially had full control of Fox. He posted up that picture with him, Deadpool, in the Mickey Mouse ears, going off to Disneyland, which was confirmation that, yes, Deadpool will be carried over. And Bob Iger has also confirmed that Deadpool will continue on under the Disney leadership, although maybe under a different banner. Maybe they'll keep the 20th Century Fox logo, so that way maybe they could do R-rated films there still, because there's potential in R-rated films, and I think Disney is aware of that, especially if you're going to continue the Alien franchise as well, which Disney did say that they do have plans to have the Alien franchise also continue, and I'm going to suspect that they are going to want Predator sometime soon, but maybe not too soon, because the recent Predator movie just bombed badly last year. So Deadpool, we know it's safe. X-Men, what's going to happen to them? Well, we know they're going to go into the MCU, but how? Are they going to carry this version of the X-Men over to the MCU and try to fit them somewhere in the timeline? If you ask me, personally, someone who did a video on how to watch the X-Men movies in chronological order, one of my highest viewed videos of all time, I would say it's very messy to put the mutants into the MCU. Number one, the biggest issue is, where have the mutants been all this time? Yes, you have movies that take place in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and now the 90s, but it doesn't really explain why weren't they there at the Battle of New York. Do they just keep to themselves and not do anything? That would make the mutants turn out to be douchebags, if anything. Why haven't people talked about them before, criticized them or ridiculed them, or whatever it is that people do to them? Yeah, there's a whole lot of groundwork missing that you can't do now, and that you would have to introduce them into the MCU in a way where it feels organic. A lot of people have come up with ideas on how they can do this, but yes, for the movies that we've had, even if you just put the new timeline order, it wouldn't work. So there you go on that. So bringing back the cast, unfortunately, we're going to lose some really great actors here. Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Ty Sheridan, I think that was his name, the guy who plays Cyclops, Sophie Turner, etc. These cast of characters are done. Which also leads to the second big problem using this cast anyways, is Quicksilver. Quicksilver the MCU already has their own version of Quicksilver, and I know people like this Quicksilver a little bit more. That was actually one of my complaints about Dark Phoenix, is that they get... Oh, spoiler alert. Actually, you know what? I won't say spoiler alert. I'll just say he's very limited in Dark Phoenix. When he's on screen, he's great, but when he's not in the movie as much as I was hoping. Let's just put it that way. I'll leave it at that. And so you can feel that in this film, and I know he was a highlight of this X-Men franchise, but unfortunately, the Age of Ultron already showed us that we already had a Quicksilver. Scarlet Witch is also in the MCU. I mean, it would have been interesting to see Evan Peters' Quicksilver meet up with Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch, right? But look, I think it's better if the old X-Men franchise just... It was great for what it was since we had it. I'll always treasure movies like Logan and Days of Future Past. That's the great thing about some of these movies, is we don't have to get rid of them just because we're starting new. We could still, I love Ben Affleck's take on Batman in Batman v Superman, but I still haven't forgotten Christian Bale and how great he was in the Dark Knight trilogy. The Dark Knight trilogy is still a trilogy that I hold up high as one of the all-time best not just best superhero films, some of the best films out there, some of my favorite films. So I think the best thing to do, obviously, is to reboot the X-Men. And maybe as we go on, we'll see some of these little references to mutants as we go into Phase 4 now, starting next year. The MCU has been quiet on the news front lately. Like, the only film we know that it's coming right now is Spider-Man Far From Home. What comes after that, it's been very quiet. It seems like Black Widow will be the next one, which will obviously now be a prequel. And then Eternals is supposed to come out as well, and we know we're going to get sequels to Doctor Strange and Black Panther and Captain Marvel, since they were all hugely successful. Hoping for an Ant-Man 3 as well. Ant-Man should return with the Wasp. And then I think Fantastic Four will be the first one to come back from the Fox, what Fox had left. Because Fantastic Four, I think, is really due for a very big reboot right now. One that is deserving, that will fit nicely into the MCU. And with their cosmic background, and with all Marvel's catalog of characters now back fully in their control, I can see Fantastic Four returning before the X-Men. X-Men, I think, will return after Phase 4 is done, or at least the next 5 years. Let's remember, Kevin Feige has already confirmed earlier this year that they do have a 5-year plan in motion, which should bring us up to 2024. Which is interesting, because Endgame primarily takes place in 2023. So, if you know my theory already, I think I've kind of hinted at it or said it in previous videos. I think the next couple of years we're going to see either prequels or movies that take place way before Endgame does, like Black Widow, and the Eternals is supposed to be taking place 10,000 years or so before the MCU is even a thing. And then I think we're going to get sequels like Doctor Strange, Black Panther, etc. Those are going to take place right after Endgame leaves off. That's what I think is going to happen to the sequels. The actual sequels, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 included, I think are all going to take place in 2023. Because by the time we get to 2023, I think we are going to get a Fantastic Four movie. And then in 2024, that's when we'll get the next big team-up movie, whatever that's going to be. Possibly even introducing the X-Men. I think 2024 will be that year that we'll get some concrete information on mutants or the X-Men in general. And that will be the time where they'll start we'll probably even have an X-Men movie in 2024. I really do believe so. I could be totally wrong on it, but that to me is the one that makes sense. Now they're going to let the X-Men die for a little bit, the movies, because these movies have been with us for a while. Now we're going to take a break from the X-Men for the next 4 or 5 years. By the time 4 or 5 years are going to come along, we're going to be ready for the next new version, next new take on these X-Men characters. Who will they be introducing? That is something I don't know, and I don't know if I want to guess. If I had to guess, maybe the original characters from the comics, the actual core group of those characters. And you save Wolverine for the sequel. You don't even introduce Wolverine right away. You introduce the actual original core group from the original comics, and then you introduce Wolverine. Maybe tease at him in the end credits sequence, and then have him appear in the sequel. I think that would be the best way to do Wolverine as well at the same time, because by then we'll be far attached from Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, because Logan was in 2017. By 2024, we'll be craving a new Wolverine, I think, by that point. And we'll want to see Wolverine team up with Spider-Man at some point, and team up with every other character at some point. So, yeah, that's my theory on this, guys. I think we won't be seeing the X-Men for a while. I think we will see them rebooted by 2024. That's my theory. It's not concrete fact, but take it for what it is. For all we know, Marvel might surprise us and say 2023, that's when we're going to introduce the X-Men. But I don't think so. I think 2023 is when we'll get Fantastic Four. 2024 will take, any movie that takes place after 2024, that will definitely be taking place after Endgame. And that's what I think the next big event movie will be. So, with that being said, leave down your theories below and tell me, do you want them to keep this core group of actors and carry them over into the MCU, or do you agree that we should have them totally rebooted, because there's really no other way? It can't make sense with that timeline, because that timeline is messy on its own. The X-Men timeline, as much as I enjoy trying to fix the holes, thinking about it a lot, Dark Phoenix just pokes some more holes into the... they don't care about continuity, let's face it. And that's why I think rebooting them is the best shot. So leave down your comments below. Please like this video, especially if you're a huge fan of superhero movies, or movies in general. I don't just talk about superhero movies. I talk about animated films, live-action Disney remakes. I talk about... I don't know. I talk about other things. Just search my channel and you'll see a lot of things I talk about. I know I talk about other things other than just superhero movies, but that's my jam. I can't believe I said jam. With that being said, until next time, take care.